Hey there everyone, welcome to Tales in Text and I'm your host Nisha. And welcome to episode 3 of my playlist Expressions of Tarot. And in today's episode, we explore the energy and the embodiment of the Three of Swords. In particular, we discuss why it is actually dangerous to pull out those three swords from ourselves and how yanking out those swords can actually do more damage than good. We also discuss what is a safer way to address the Three of Swords embodiment in our lives. And we talk of how we can empower, heal, and protect ourselves and others when we are experiencing or when somebody who we know is experiencing the embodiment of the Three of Swords energy. Let's dive right in. If you're a tarot reader, you would have come across the Three of Swords and you would have certain opinions about it. The moment you pull out the card, the energy shift is palpable. On the card, the imagery often displays a human heart or a Valentine-shaped heart into which is struck three large, menacing-looking swords. It looks painful. And in the background are these ominous omens, lightning, rain, dark, dense clouds. You may sometimes even see a person into whose heart these three swords are embedded. This is one of those cards that when you look at the imagery, you visibly cringe, your body stiffens, your heart stops that mid-second beat, and then you gasp. Because most imagery of the Three of Swords is that powerful and it's that negative. And even if you're a complete beginner at tarot and you don't know what the Three of Swords energy is, the very first words that come into your mind when you look at this card are heartbreak, hurt, sorrow, grief, loss, misunderstanding, separation, trauma. And all of these are extremely strong and extremely negative sentiments. When you look at this card, immediately you might start feeling uncertain, you might feel scared, you might be wondering what the hell can go wrong now. And it's human nature, it's human tendency to do this. The very first thing that we want to do when we pull out the Three of Swords as a card in our reading is to identify which area this Three of Swords energy is actually embodying, which area of our life is it affecting, so that we can pull out those swords, patch things up, keep going ahead in our spiritual evolution, right? Or keep going ahead in whatever task it is that we've taken up. But here's the thing, despite thinking that pulling out those swords is a good thing, the reality is if you yank out those three swords, you're doing more damage than good. Now here's why. When there's a stab wound, essentially the wound is basically cutting through that area of the body. And because it cuts through, and often it cuts through deep, so many arteries and organs are damaged. And that's when the body starts bleeding. Inadvertently, the knife becomes a plug which blocks that wound and actually prevents the blood from coming out. You pull out the knife and the blood that was stemmed, the blood that was stopped from exiting the body, now just comes out. While we have a genuine desire to help someone who's been this hurt, who's experienced this stabbing, right? And we really want to help them. We want to ease their pain, we want to keep them safe. But when we try to pull it out from the outside, we don't have a visualization of what's happening inside their body. We don't know which sensitive organ the blade is next to. We don't know whether it's next to any important arteries or veins. We don't know what type of blade it is. Is it a blade with a clean cut design? Is it a blade with serrated edges? Is it some sort of oddly shaped weapon which might actually do more harm by injuring the surrounding organs and veins and arteries and skin when you try to pull it out? And if you do pull it out, and let's say you don't end up worsening the damage that's inside the body. You may not even have a sterile equipment to stem the flow. Or what if you have something dirty that's not sterile and that can cause infection to the victim, right? Sometimes what happens when there is so much blood loss is, one, of course, stab wounds can be fatal. In other cases, extensive blood loss will cause the body to go into shock. And this is because the body is losing blood, the body's defense mechanism, the main thing, its priority will be to protect the primary priority organs like your brain, the heart, the lungs, kidneys. So the circulatory system is completely messed up because of it, and the body goes into shock. What if we don't have the tools to help someone whose body is going into shock? We want to help this person. We genuinely are afraid for them. We want to help. It's breaking our heart to see them in so much pain. But what if we don't have the tools or the knowledge or the resources to help them when we do pull out that knife? The best thing that you could do is to let the knife be. Let it remain in the stab wound. And I know this seems counterintuitive, and I know this seems just painful and crazy. But unless we have the experience, the qualification, the knowledge, and the training to safely and carefully pull out that knife in a way that doesn't cause any more damage than what has already been done because of the stabbing, and in a way where we know how to stem that blood flow, and in a way where we know how to either prevent or manage the body if it goes into shock, that's the only time we should ever attempt to remove the knife from the wound. And most importantly, this task of removing the knife from the wound should only be done if we know how to offer that care, that protection, that support that the person with the injury needs to heal after the knife has been removed and once the treatment begins. Because it isn't just the concept of removing the knife and you're done. That wound needs to be healed, that wound needs to be treated, that treatment process, that person needs the support through that treatment process. And so ask any medical professional and they'll say, don't do anything, don't intervene and don't interfere if there is a stab wound, especially if you have no medical knowledge or experience. Instead, contact an experienced professional who has the knowledge and physical experience and the qualification to provide this kind of support and help. So this could be the police, this could be your GP or your surgeon or a paramedic, and it could be anyone who has the skills needed to heal and this kind of wound. Now let's just translate this physical wound into the metaphorical and symbolic wound of the Three of Swords. I know this video is really hard because this might be, this concept of being stabbed. When we look at the tarot deck, it just seems like just a bunch of pictures and colors and paints on the cards, but oftentimes it is a reality for someone. Someone's loved one may have actually gone through this experience in reality. They might have been a victim of violent crime. So it can be very, very incredibly hard to listen to this video. And I truly, truly apologize if this video is bringing up any memories of any sort of hurt that you or a loved one faced in reality with relation to what we are discussing. When you consider this concept of the Three of Swords as a wounding to the heart, to the mind, or to the spirit, we need to translate the same knowledge and the same practice for treatment as we use when we are addressing a wounding or a stabbing to the physical body. If you're doing a tarot reading for yourself or for a loved one or a client, and you pull out the Three of Swords, it is best if your very first response is not to try to yank out those swords, because it might end up doing more damage, more harm than good. Rather, it is better to point them towards somebody else who has the expertise and skills and knowledge to help them the right way. Again, this could be the police, this could be the doctor, or this could be someone like a shaman or a priest or a healer or a teacher, maybe a politician. Anyone who has the resources, the experience and the skills to help them. And this is the kind of help where the help will be truly effective, where it will really effect positive change for the person who is either currently experiencing or is about to experience in the future an embodiment of the Three of Swords archetype. Now, I am not a medical health professional. I'm not a doctor or a mental health care practitioner. And everything I say today is based on information that is sourced from reputed medical websites and also based on personal experiences. A couple of years ago, I did experience a few Three of Swords moments. And at that point, I didn't realize that yanking out those swords forcibly and quickly would actually be more harmful to me. And that realization came very late. And today I'm left with a couple of scars from those episodes, which, I look back on with sadness and disbelief. Why was I in a position, or why did I put myself in this position where I did not seek the help that I needed? And what restricted me and what restrained me from seeking that help? Was it something that I imposed on myself, these restrictions? Did I stop myself from seeking help? Or was it because of finances or family or friends or religion or society, the world? Did they stop me? And I'm still coming to terms with those experiences and what I did do and what I didn't do. But ultimately, I realized that pulling out those swords was not really the best thing to do. And so while I talk to you about how we can safely navigate this Three of Swords energy, I in no way or by no means offer this as the only concrete solution to your experiences, because I cannot and I will not speak for everyone, because everyone's experiences are different, and you need to be given that space and that freedom and that support to navigate your personal experiences in the way that you feel best. But I just hope that my personal experiences with the Three of Swords energy and what I have gleaned from them, that it is best to let someone who is better equipped to pull those swords out, rather than doing it ourselves. I hope that personal experience of mine can offer some value to whoever wants to employ this technique. Now, what I've noticed is that when we try to self-heal, self-treat, we may use this temporary fix. We may just put a band-aid on a gaping hole, and that doesn't work. Sooner or later, that band-aid is going to tear or fall off, and the wound will be exposed again. Spiritually speaking, or emotionally and mentally speaking, time may create the illusion of forgetting, but the body remembers, the heart remembers, the mind remembers, and the spirit, the soul remembers. And these deeper remembrances aren't as easily forgotten. And before you know it, these temporary fixes that we have done for ourselves, because we think that that's the best solution, they may hold for a while, but then before we know it, all the feelings that we have bottled up inside, all those thoughts that we have bottled up inside will just explode, out into the open. All those traumas that are lurking about in our subconscious, they might come out with full force. And the damage that those will wreak is far worse than the wound given to us by the Three of Swords embodied experience. Because these have been pent up for so long that it's like a pressure cooker. The pressure builds, and there's no outlet. There's no holistic outlet. There's no healthy outlet, right? And it just gets out of control. And that is when it becomes very hard for us to truly come to terms with what we've experienced and to try to work our way through it. And if this is an experience that's happened to somebody else and we've played some part in the reopening of the wound or the poor healing of that wound for somebody else, it can be very hard for the other person to not only navigate their own lives, but to also have the trust and faith to seek help outside. Ultimately, we need to be responsible for ourselves and responsible for others. Because the Three of Swords is a very heavy energy. And the degrees to which it might affect our lives or somebody else's life, the querent's life, might be different, but it does leave an impact. It does leave a scar. And by being responsible in the way we manage that situation, the way we address it, the way we treat that situation, with kindness, with love, with carefulness, with empathy, that can make all the difference in the world. How should we navigate an embodied Three of Swords experience? This ultimately boils down to the way we seek help, the way we receive help, and the way we give help. The very first thing that I have seen in my experience is that first off, affirm their Three of Swords experience. Affirm their wound, affirm their experience. Ignoring, bad-mouthing, denying their experience can cause them to go into shock. And what I mean by shock is, first off, of course, there is going to be, in some cases at least, a physical reaction towards being dismissed, especially when we've gone through a trauma. We literally close ourselves up physically. But there's also a complete walling up of our emotions. We don't let our emotions through anymore. We don't become vulnerable anymore. There's a complete close down of communication. Whatever lines of communication has been established, either between ourselves and, let's say, a therapist, or between ourselves and our loved one, a friend or a family member who we've opened up to, or if this is the case between yourself and the other party, the third party who's actually experiencing this Three of Swords, whatever the communication line is, that it gets completely closed down and their emotions are walled up, right? And then there is this sharp downward spiral into this shame and guilt and self-blame that about whatever wound and trauma and the Three of Swords experience that they had, that complete shame spiral. That's what happens when we deny these experiences instead of affirming these experiences. We don't offer that support, whether to ourselves or to somebody else, that is necessary, that is integral. That's the very first step towards healing. Another thing that I've noticed, and which I feel like should be addressed if we want to safely navigate through and heal through this Three of Swords embodied experience, is that we need to stop preaching and reasoning. as a community of, we spiritual seekers as a community have this tendency to sort of give a high road to, all the experiences that we face, right? We tend to always try to reason out whatever we're experiencing or whatever somebody else is experiencing as saying that this was, in the divine framework of things. This was our fate. This was our karma because for example, this happened to me, this XYZ happened to me because I needed to learn ABC, and the universe has got my back, and what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, and that I'll be okay. Not only is this untrue, but there is no certainty as to why we experienced this wound, this trauma, or this Three of Swords experience. There is no guarantee that we will learn something out of this experience. There is no guarantee that we will come out of this unscathed. And there is certainly no evidence that this Three of Swords experience is helpful and a stepping stone in our spiritual evolution. We sort of inadvertently, right, send the message that this is happening to us or to somebody else because we deserve it, or that, something is lacking in us or something is lacking in somebody else that we need to fill these gaps. We need to fill these gaps, and that's why this experience is happening to us. Or third, that we are on the wrong path or somebody is on the wrong path and we need to drag them to the right path, and that's why this experience has happened. And that's just not true all the time. We should stop diminishing the experience of the Three of Swords so that we can help ourselves and other people with the best kind of help that we can provide. So when we don't affirm somebody's experience, whether it's ourselves and our own Three of Swords moment, when we don't affirm it or somebody else's, or when we try to reason out why something may be happening, whether it's our own experiences or somebody else's experiences, we may inadvertently, even when we have the most genuine desire to help, we may inadvertently deepen that wound, worsen that wound by pushing the sword in deeper, or pulling it out, yanking it out in such a way that it causes more damage. When we are dealing with the embodied version of the Three of Swords, whether it's an experience that we are facing ourselves or somebody else is experiencing this, it is best to not yank it out quickly and forcibly, assuming that it would help stem whatever problems that are happening or that may happen, right? It is best to seek professional help, whether this is mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual health, to seek help from the right people who are trained and qualified to do so, to give you that kind of help that will actually benefit you. And when it comes to treating ourselves or somebody else who is experiencing this embodied Three of Swords, just to treat that person with kindness, with love, with gentleness, with carefulness, and with empathy, because that can make all the difference in the world. And with this, I sign off from this video. If you have been with me this far, thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to engaging with you in the comment section. So yeah, and if you would like to read this video in text form, I have written a detailed summary on my blog post called Story So Wild. I will put the link in the description box so that you can go ahead and read the blog or share it with someone who you think might find this information something worth engaging with. And that blog is also accessibility enabled, so which means that you can use a screen reader for the blog if you would like to, and it's also translation enabled, so you can read the blog in your native tongue. So go ahead and explore the blog as well. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time on Tales in Text, and I hope you have a good day. Bye bye.